All right, guys, so let's talk about stage number 2. Actually, let's talk about this whole ENVE series. Because so far, I've attempted stage 1 twice. I've attempted stage 2 once. And things have not been going well. And so let's take a look at what's been happening.
Oh, I guess the gears aren't indexed very well.
First stage, go ahead and check out that video, wherever it's at, link. Go ahead and check out the video. Didn't do so well, got dropped pretty quickly, and yeah, that was the end of the race. And I ended up a couple minutes behind the main pack that crossed the line. So it is what it is. Now my second attempt on that race, and this is really what I wanted to get into today, is the idea of when is the right reason to rage quit. Because man, oh man, was I mad. Like absolute crash out mad. And so as I started the second round of stage 1, things seemed okay. All of a sudden, steering starts to take its toll, have its issues.
Been a while since I've used my regular gears. We'll see how well they're indexed. I'm also going to have to rely on Zwift to steer me.
As you guys know, I've talked about it in the past. I've been trying to weatherproof, waterproof, sweatproof my controllers, and still sweat managed to get in there. My steering started pulling hard to the left, and I thought, you know what, no big deal. I will, race as I can. And so ended up disabling I was trying to see if I can just disable steering, but it doesn't look like Zwift has anything like that. Zwift, if you can add something like that, that would be great. And so couldn't disable steering, ended up, shutting off my controllers altogether, switched to manual. No big deal. I've got gears on my cassette, so why not use those gears? Start switching gears. Next thing you know, as I'm going uphill, my gears are jumping. And not just jumping, but at one point, they were jumping between 4 different cogs. That's a huge issue. And so my gears were so far out of index that they basically weren't usable. And I thought, you know what? Let me see if I can just find myself in a good rhythm, find a gear, find a range between 1 and 2 gears where I can make it work and just keep going. So that's what I did. Kept going, got dropped, no big deal. Figured, there's a couple guys that were dropped as well. Figured I could stay with them, caught up to them. Next thing you know, as I'm climbing to stay competitive with them at least, my gears start going haywire again. Jumping between 3 and 4 gears.
God damn it, man.
Could not hold power at all. And so, after a very, very emotional outburst, I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't, there's no way I can finish this race if I destroy my bike. And so that's kind of where I left it. And now, I feel like when it comes to rage quitting, I do want to circle back to the idea of concept. When it comes to rage quitting, I'm not a huge fan of that. There are instances where I've seen where people will get frustrated because the pace of the peloton is not what they maybe want or expected. And so people aren't playing the games that they want to play, or people have steering and they're using their steering and creating these inequalities where someone just crashes out, I'm done. Rage quit, not gonna finish the race, not gonna, worry about what happens. And that's all on them. I'm not a fan of that particular style of rage quitting. What I will say is, if you're gonna quit because you can't continue. Because your virtual gears, your mechanical gears, or anything else that allows you to function in game stopped working. Even if it's your own personal performance, if you're completely tapped out energy wise, don't continue. Like, don't push yourself harder if you can't function. And so the second round, that's basically what happened to me, is I could not continue going and just decided, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. I was frustrated. I was mad. I really wanted to destroy my bike at the moment, but I didn't, because there's other races, there's other times. And so that's how that went. So here we go to stage 2. Favorite course, breakfast grits and grits. Why is it my favorite? Because it's punchy, it's fast, and there's opportunities for guys like me with a strong sub 1 minute power to really dominate this race. Seriously? Seriously. Now, yeah, there's a Segura climb, which on a good day is a 2 minute hard effort. And so that's where a lot of my performance, will vary. But those sub 1 minute, efforts, going up the Bray, going up the Castle corkscrew, going up the Clyde kicker, like that's easy peasy. I can do that all day. And so on a stage like this, it's easy for me to do well. I just got to stay in the group, punch hard, and keep going. And so that's what I thought would happen on stage 2. In Discord, chatted all about it. Hey, we got a game plan. Let's go hard. I'm going to be attacking. I'm going to be covering attacks, because we did have a marked rider. I will not say the name, but we did have a marked rider that we were going after to ensure that one of our guys is able to beat him. There's been a lot of back and forth between these two riders, and so we wanted to set him up for the best. And so my game plan was, I'm going to go in, I'm going to punch hard, and I'm going to keep attacking until either I drop or that other rider drops. And so that's how we started. Went out the pen good. I climbed well, stayed in the pack, got a little bit separated towards the top. But once I got over the top, reconnected. Now, it did take some effort to reconnect. I was actually kind of surprised how much effort it took to reconnect, and was kind of worried, because I was like, hey, I can't get dropped if I'm gonna, animate this race. And so as we get reconnected, things are going okay. Starting to notice, hey, my gears don't feel like they're engaging. Virtual gears don't feel like they're engaging. What's going on? Now, the whole time descending down the gravel, my right controller was vibrating like it was trying to simulate the terrain. And so I wasn't sure, maybe that was a Zwift update, maybe that was a feature I accidentally enabled, and just kind of letting that run through my mind as I was descending. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I can't focus on that and race. And so gear shifting seemed to be okay, caught up with the group, kept going. As we start hitting the Clyde, as we start that gradual climb up to the Clyde, I'm noticing, hey, my gears aren't engaging, gears aren't working. And so I shift up to gear 24. I'm doing like 100, 200 watts, something like that. And at that point, I know gears aren't working. Virtual gears aren't working. So what do I need to do? I need to get back into my physical gears. I re-indexed my gears after stage 1, figured, hey, let me, at least find a good gear spacing where I can work with it. And so I turn off my controllers, shift up a few cogs, no power. I'm like, what's going on? My trainer's spinning, but there's no resistance still. I figured as soon as I turn off my controllers, the resistance should kick back in. What's going on? Nothing. No resistance. And now at this point, I'm starting to coast up the Clyde at like 200 RPM while everybody else is, or 200 watts while everybody else is doing probably like 700, 800, 900 watts going up the Clyde. And they're starting to separate. They're starting to get some distance. I'm going so slow that a group that was separated initially came up behind me and passed me. And when I saw them pass me, I was like, all right, there's a group that I can latch onto if I could just get my trainer to cooperate. So what do? I jump off, reset my trainer, unplug the power, good old IT trick, unplug, plug it back in, give it 10 seconds, plug it back in, let it reboot. It reboots. I turn on my controllers, get my physical gears in a good spot, everything's back to normal. Virtual gears are working. So now this is where the critical part of this stage comes into play for me. And this is what I would recommend if you end up in a scenario where things just aren't going well for you on that stage. Don't quit. Shift your perspective to workout mode. I know, who wants to do a workout while racing? If you're gonna be in there anyways, yeah, you're gonna lose some ZRS points. Depending on the size of the group is dependent on how many points you lose. If you're that far back, in my case, I was in the like 20 to 25 out of 30 something people in the pen. Supposedly, I didn't see that many people when we left, and no one else passed me when I was falling apart. So maybe there were some others in there, but I switched into workout mode. I thought, you know what? This is a perfect time for me to work on my 20-minute power. I've got guys to chase. There was at least 3 riders in front of me that I knew I could catch. Not necessarily immediately, but I was gonna have to do some effort. They were 10, 15 seconds ahead of me. I know I can close that gap with some effort. And so I started catching them, caught up to them one by one. I saw one of the typical riders that I normally, race against, and like he and I go back and forth in terms of actual like racing. Like he keeps me on my toes. And so when I passed him, I thought he would latch on. No big deal. We'd keep going. I'd be able to pull him for a while because, again, at this point, I was in the, horse blinders on, bull seeing red, and I was ready to, catch that front group. I did not care about who else was on my wheel. I was focused on, I'm going to catch that front group because I'm not going to let this stage go to waste. And so I'm going as hard as I can, trying to hover in the 3.5 to 4.0 watts range to really amp up my 20-minute power, catch a couple familiar guys, catch a couple friendlies, catch a couple, not so friendlies, and just keep going. And as I'm going, power's feeling okay, hurting, but manageable. And I start seeing I'm closing the gap to the next main group. And I see JD's in that next main group. So I'm like, great. Someone I can ride with, someone who I know their power, I know their tactics, and he and I can work together if we're close enough to that front group. Now, while this is all going on, I'm seeing the gap to the front group extend. Minute 15, minute 45, 2 minutes. And when I start seeing that, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to catch the front group. But at least at this point, if I can catch JD and he and I can finish together, I can pace him up the climb. Again, thinking I could, level up that performance, when it comes to not only improving my 20-minute power, but also finishing strong. And so this is what's going through my head. This is what's pushing me, motivating me. I jump into JD's chat, let him know, hey, I had to reset my trainer. I'm way off the back. I'm still closing the distance to him, about 30, 45 seconds away from him, but closing in little by little. Come to find out after the race, there was a point where I guess he saw I was getting close enough where he was like, all right, I'm just going to ease up a bit and let him catch, I was so appreciative of that because I was at the point where I didn't know if I could close the gap because I was my energy was starting to come down significantly, which was starting to also reduce my morale, my will to live, really my will to finish. Like I was in so much pain that I was like, I gotta finish the stage because I've already come this far, might as well keep going. And so as we're starting to go up the castle climb, I see that I'm getting close to him, getting closer, pushing harder, and ultimately I do end up making the catch thanks to, again, JD, was able to slow down for me a bit, and I was able to make the catch, and we were able to sail off into the sunset. We hit the cigarette together, and as we hit the cigarette together, he managed a steady pace. I thought I could, basically maintain that pace. There was a couple moments where I started falling off the back a little bit, And again, at this point I was hurt. I was, really holding, and I was excited because my 20-minute power was the highest I'd ever seen. Now, in terms of raw watts, not watts per kilogram, because I went up a couple kilograms over the last few days, and so I adjusted my weight in Zwift, and so my watts per kilogram were about the same as what they normally are for races, but my raw watts were higher. And so I was like, pushing, and that left me with not much for the Segura, for the last round up the Segura. And so, I'm pushing, JD's going, he's starting to, I'm starting to drop off the back of his wheel. As we hit the flat part, I try and catch back on, put a little more effort, fall off his wheel again. And then as we start to get to that last, whatever percentage segment, 4, 5, 6% segment, I was like, you know what, let me give one last dig to see if I can at least hold his wheel across the line. We get up to the top basically together, but at that point, I'm done. Like, the person behind me is not gonna catch. I'm not gonna, try and out sprint JD on, the last part of this stage. Cause again, there was no reward in, where I was at. Ended up crossing the line in 20th place, and that was that. And so, like I said, when it comes to situations like this where your race just isn't going the way you expected it to, don't rage quit. Sure, if you can't continue, be gone. Peace out. Don't force yourself to move forward. Don't force yourself to race if you can't race. But if you can complete the stage, then switch your focus from racing to workout. Find a target. Think about what you need to do. What do the efforts feel like? You're not going to have Zwift pop up and tell you, hey, we're jumping into erg mode now and hold this power for X amount of minutes, and all the other, motivational fairy tale sayings that they pop up, while you're exercising. This is where you need to dig into you, get into your own head, and say, all right, I know these efforts, I know what to do, and just execute. Because at the end of the day, even if you don't win the race, even if your ZRS score goes down, you won the battle over you. And that's what I came away with. That's what I felt. And I looked at my numbers afterwards, and sure enough, what I saw was what happened. I hit my best 20-minute power, literally 20-minute, like right at the second, 20-minute power. Hit my best 20-minute power, and it felt great. It hurt, it was tough, but it felt great. So with that, I will see you guys in the next race.